Hello, 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 and welcome to my channel. I'm Reina Creole, bringing you that spice to pop culture and sci-fi analysis. And today I really hadn't planned on making this video. Usually video ideas take a while to come to me, but this morning I just happened to be browsing Twitter like I usually do. And if you're not following me on Twitter, you need to. So if you think my takes here are spicy, you should see the stuff I do on Twitter. So this morning on Twitter, I open up and this comes into my feed. Viacom CBS has ended its relationship with Nick Cannon. We are deeply troubled that Nick has failed to acknowledge or apologize for perpetuating anti-Semitism, and we are terminating our relationship with him. You may know Nick Cannon from such TV shows as America's Got Talent, The Masked Singer, which is one of my favorites, and another one that I haven't seen, but I think is pretty cool, called Wildin' Out. Also, Nick Cannon happens to be Mr. Mariah Carey. Well, ex-Mr. Mariah Carey, but I digress. Now, what exactly did Nick Cannon do? You might be asking. Well, I'm glad you asked. So let's take that deep dive, shall we? Nick Cannon dropped by Viacom CBS after making anti-Semitic comments.
That was stupid.
Viacom CBS is ending its long-running relationship with Nick Cannon after he made anti-Semitic comments on his podcast. In the June 30 episode of Cannon's Class, the actor and TV host interviewed Professor Griff, a rapper who was part of Public Enemy, before leaving the group after making anti-Semitic remarks. Full disclosure, I freaking love Public Enemy. I've been down with Public Enemy. Public Enemy doesn't resemble what it used to, but that's neither here nor there. Back to the article. On the podcast, Cannon said Black people are the true Hebrews and talked about anti-Semitic conspiracy theories involving the Rothschild family. It's never hate speech. You can't be anti-Semitic when we are the Semitic people, Cannon said. When we are the same people who they want to be. That is our birthright. We are the true Hebrews. A Viacom CBS spokesperson released a statement to Variety saying that the company's relationship with Cannon is now terminated.
How the hell are you gonna get fired on your day off?
So after reading this particular article, I'm thinking, and I decided to tweet that morning, for those who cannot or refuse to connect the dots, Nick Cannon is that Black supremacist / racist Terry Crews warned you about. And I didn't really think much of it, just kind of put it out there. Then I get a tweet back from Drink 3PO, who, if you haven't followed him, you need to follow him. Cool. One of the hosts of The Dark Council, best show on YouTube on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m.-ish. Check it out, subscribe to him. But anyway, he says, make a video. And here we are. Viacom CBS condemns bigotry of any kind, and we categorically denounce all forms of anti-Semitism. We have spoken with Nick Cannon about an episode of his podcast, Cannon's Class, on YouTube, which promoted hateful speech and spread anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. While we support ongoing education and dialogue in the fight against bigotry, we are deeply troubled that Nick has failed to acknowledge or apologize for perpetuating anti-Semitism, and we are terminating our relationship with him. We are committed to doing better in our response to incidents of anti-Semitism, racism, and bigotry. Viacom CBS will have further announcements on our efforts to combat hate of all kinds, the company said. Wow, so this is some pretty deep, pretty crazy stuff. And like I've told people, racism is a very, very serious charge. So is anti-Semitism. So what kind of proof do they have for that? So this podcast, which is actually supposing to be on YouTube, and I saw it earlier today, where it was on YouTube, I happened to go to YouTube to find it, and guess what? It's gone. But no worries, because as we all know, the internet is forever, so there's a copy somewhere. So as I said earlier, considering the original video, YouTube just pretty much put the kibosh on that. Interestingly enough, yesterday, I happened to tweet this out. As I've said before, no one race has a monopoly on racism. He's, meaning Nick Cannon, is entitled to his racist views, so rather than cancel him, just ignore his ass. Let's see if the Mass Simmer show brings him back. So in this tweet from Adam Ford, who, turns out he's the founder of the Babylon Bee. Happened to find this particular clip, which will pretty much tell you everything that you need to know. But before we get to that clip, why don't we go to an article which covers this from a slightly different but more intensive perspective. So let's bring in the Daily Caller. Closer to animals. Nick Cannon goes on racist, anti-Semitic rant, says white people and Jewish people are the true savages. Let's look at that again. Closer to animals. Nick Cannon goes on racist, anti-Semitic rant, says white people and Jewish people are the true savages. Former America's Got Talent host Nick Cannon delivered a racist and anti-Semitic rant in the June 30 episode of his podcast, Cannon's Class. Now, we did already talk about that, but the editor here, Peter Hasson, actually goes into more detail. He says, Cannon hosted rapper Professor Griff, whose record of anti-Semitic comments is well documented, for an interview in which they promoted anti-Semitic conspiracies about Jewish families secretly controlling the world and claimed that Black people can't be anti-Semitic because there's the real Semitic people. In order for me to be anti-Semitic, I'd have to be anti-Black man, anti-woman, anti-Black people, anti-Africa, anti-all other people, Griff said. Because the Semitic people are Black people, Cannon added. And Cannon and Griff spoke positively, and they go down there. And of course, the YouTube video that I was talking about that gained more than 250,000 views, which is gone now. So he goes on, and this is quotes from the video. When you have a person who has the lack of pigment, the lack of melanin that they know will be annihilated, therefore, they know that however they got the power, they have a lack of compassion. Melanin comes with compassion, Cannon said. I really didn't know that melanin was a requirement to have compassion. Back to the article. When they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, they didn't have the power of the sun. The sun started to deteriorate them. So they're acting out of fear. They're acting out of low self-esteem. They're acting out of deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. Wow. Catching the vibe going on here through this? But wait, there's more. Scholars have long debunked the pseudoscientific claim that skin melanin levels are linked to intellectual abilities. And rather than read this section here, I'm just going to play it for you. So let's play that clip, shall we?
They have to rob, steal, rape, kill, and
fight or flight, okay.
in order to survive.
Exactly.
So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people.
Right.
They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough, torrential environments. So they're acting as animals.
Right.
So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages.
So the article basically goes on to to say a bit more about what Nick Cannon said, but by this time, you can pretty much get a picture of exactly what he's talking about. And that video, yanked for removing the terms of service, Daily Caller linked right to it. And they just basically say that they tried to reach out to Nick Cannon for a statement and did not get one. I'm assuming by the time this article was published, they hadn't heard anything back. Nothing about whether they've heard anything back since then. So let's get back to Terry Crews. Here's Terry Crews's tweet, which is still up. Thank goodness. He says, "If you are a child of God, you are my brother and sister. I have family of every race, creed, and ideology. We must ensure Black Lives Matter doesn't morph into Black Lives Better." Now, some people got that, and, some people didn't. Some people didn't. But here's how I took basically what Terry Crews said. Okay. The way that I understood it is that while we're trying to ensure, and by we, I mean that people who are part of this grassroots nonviolent movement for Black Lives Matter, in pursuit of that, we don't want to make it seem as Black lives are better than everyone else's lives. When you start doing that, you get into that realm of racism, you get into that realm of Black supremacy, which goes back to the tweet that I said this morning, which was, for those who cannot or refuse to connect the dots, Nick Cannon is that Black supremacist / racist Terry Crews warned you about. So in a way, I'm very glad that this is out there, because Nick Cannon is a prime example of what Terry Crews was talking about. And some people thought that Terry Crews was making it up. Some people thought that there's no such thing as a Black supremacist, but there is. But you know what? We don't dumb things down here. So let's go to the dictionary, shall we? And look at some definitions. So according to Merriam-Webster at the moment, supremacist basically means an advocate or adherent to group supremacy. And the second one of here, of course, is they have is white supremacist. But a synonym for that is racist. So what exactly is racist? Your synonym is going to be racist, which is the same noun as racism. What you have here, we'll say this first definition, a belief that race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacities, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. Now, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, you're going to call it a duck, right? And Nick Cannon is definitely quacking. But Nick Cannon did offer an apology that I think is more because he got caught about his words rather than it being truly heartfelt. But the only person who knows that is Nick Cannon. But going back to the Variety piece, Nick says on his Twitter, "Anyone who knows me knows that I have no hate in my heart nor malice intentions. I do not condone hate speech nor the spread of hateful rhetoric. We are living in a time when it is more important than ever to promote unity and understanding. Until then, I hold myself accountable for this moment and take full responsibility, because my intentions are only to show that as a beautiful human species, we have way more commonalities than differences. So let's embrace those as well as each other. We are family." Now, with that said, do I think Nick Cannon should be quote unquote canceled? No. I don't believe in cancel culture at all. Cancel culture is this social media mob that if you say something that is dare to be offensive, people just freaking lose their minds and basically yell and try to chase you off of social media. So if someone's going to cancel Nick Cannon, that's going to be between Nick Cannon and his employer. And in this case, his employer was Viacom. And apparently what Nick said didn't sit so well with the Viacom, because companies usually have a big problem when you start messing with their money, which is captured so eloquently by a very, very wise man like this one.
Playing with my money is like playing with my emotions.
Nick Cannon, just like any other American in this country, has a First Amendment right to speak what's on his mind, whether we like it, whether we don't like it, whether it makes us want to set our hair on fire, or it makes us just want to sit back and smoke a cigarette. He has the constitutional right to do that.
And you know this, man.
He doesn't have the right to be listened to, but he has the right to say what he wants to say. So, no, I don't think he should be canceled for it. I don't think he should be fired for it, but I feel he's a perfect freaking bad example to hold up, but it's not my money. And obviously he's a threat to Viacom's money. So there it is. So that's my spicy take on this. What's your spicy take on what's going on with Nick Cannon? Do you think that he should have been canceled in the cancel culture? Do you think that Viacom should have fired him in the first place? Do you think that Nick Cannon will actually wind up reinventing himself and coming back as something better, different, have a change of heart? Either way, let me know down there in the comments. So that about wraps it up for this video here. Be sure to share, like, subscribe, hit that subscription bell so you can be notified whenever I go live. So with that said, peace, love, blessings, and remember, never underestimate the power of pop culture. Stay plugged in.
Cause it's Friday, you ain't got no job, and you ain't got